Hello creatures, welcome to Bound by Words. Today we have a little bit of a real talk video. I want to talk about author platforms, sort of like in Author Platform 101, the stuff that I've learned, the stuff that I've experienced, stuff that's really important to know about the platform and creating a platform itself. Now, before we get started, I do want to say that this is not going to be a how to grow your platform quick kind of video, because you have to decide a lot of things before you can really look into how to grow your platform. In short, you have to decide what you want your platform to be, how you want it to appear, where your audience is, and then where you want to appear on the internet. And then that last part, that what platforms you're selecting and where you want to appear on the internet, you have to look up for each one a strategy for growth. And there are plenty of free resources for that on YouTube. But today we are talking about what an author platform is, why you need one, how to go about starting one, and sort of the juggling act that comes with creating a functional author platform. If we haven't met yet, my name is Madii. I am an editor and a fantasy writer, and I am one class away from finishing my editing certificate at the University of Chicago. And if you're not familiar, the editing certificate programs, like the formal programs they offer at universities, are pretty all-inclusive. I have to understand the entire publishing industry and the entire publishing process in order to really know what gear I am in the machine and how to run smoothly and how I can help authors. So from a freelance editor's point of view, my goal is to help authors as much as I can along the process. And then when you're working for a company, your goal is really just to do the editing and to do it in a way that sets up the next person. But in that span of learning how to support authors, I've learned so much about creating a functional author platform and sustaining one, and I want to share that with you guys today. I've heard some wildly different stories and advice from people who have very traditional platforms, who are in their late 50s and early 60s, and then also from people who have very popular platforms that are active on social media that are in their late 20s and early 30s. So there's no real right way to do it. It's important to make the decision of how you want it to appear, where your audience is, and what kind of work that you want to put into your author platform. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. There will be chapters in the description below. So I'm going to start with the what and the why. So an author platform is basically your appearance on the internet as an author. It is a place for your audience and the people who are interested in your book to go straight to you for information, whether it is the drafting process, the release date, your publishing information, how to buy your book, whatever it is where your audience can find you on the internet. Most people have author platforms that are a combination of several different platforms rolled into one. So for example, somebody might have a big following on Instagram, but they might also have an email newsletter and a blog. The purpose, the why behind an author platform, and the reason it is so important is because it gets eyes on your project. Not only does it get eyes on whatever your manuscript or project is, it also helps you connect with your audience. It helps you see the things that go well and don't go well, see the things that are sort of in trend right now, which is kind of funny. You can find things like that from just being present on social media or being present where your audience is, but having your own author platform is the best way for people to directly tell you the things that they like and they don't like, and the things that they agree with and the things they want to change. I highly recommend anybody starting an author platform the second you think you want to write for publishing. You can be starting your first draft of your first book and you're not even sure if you want to publish yet. I would recommend starting an author platform, and that goes a little bit into what we're going to be talking about next, which is the when and the how. But before we move on that, the why is most importantly, sales. So the goal of an author platform, because it is to get eyes on your project, why do you want eyes on your project? To sell books. So the way I like to think about it is whatever your platform is, say you have 100 people following you. If 10% of the people who followed you wanted to buy your book, how many books would you sell? I like to just use that math. It's going to be vastly different for everybody depending on your platform and how engaging your audience is. But if you have even a mild or small platform, say you have 100 followers on Instagram, 10% of your followers want to buy your book, that is 10 sales. 10 sales you did not have before you started your author platform. Better yet, you start your platform early, as soon as possible, you foster it, you learn how to grow, you have 500 followers, now you have 50 sales. Say you start your author platform at the beginning of the drafting process and it takes you an entire year to draft and do some revisions, and in that year you gain 1,000 followers. Say it takes you another 6 months to do the whole editing, cover process, and getting ready to publish, and those are pretty long timelines. But if you're doing it casually because you like it, which I'm going with the bottom end of the spectrum, there are people who write because they enjoy it, because it's a hobby and might want to publish, and then there are people who give themselves hard and fast deadlines. So on the lower end, if you take that long to do the whole writing and publishing process, and you all the while are working on your author platform, you might have 1,500, 2,000, 5,000 followers. If 10% of those 5,000 people bought your book, that is 500 sales that you would not have had before you had an author platform. So it is really important to definitely invest the time in it, whether you are in high school and you're just getting started, or maybe you're just deciding I want to be a published author and I need to get on top of this. You can start your platform, start your drafting, and you can hit the ground running and give yourself hard and fast deadlines. If you're going to do that, then I definitely recommend looking up solid strategies for growing your platforms as quickly as possible. If you're going to start writing and start your platform at the same time and finish and publish within a year, you want to get that author platform started before you're done. There is this misconception that you have to have a published book to have an author platform, and that's just so silly. One of our favorite creators and writers here on YouTube, and I think I can speak for the general public when I say this, but Kate Kavanaugh, if you're not familiar with her, she has about 40,000 subscribers. She has a very broad audience, a very supportive community, and she has not published a book yet, but she has a thriving author platform. You don't need to publish a book before you start your author platform. It's better to start it first and to grow and to foster a connection with the audience and your readers before you publish your book. Because if you start an author platform after you publish your book, you lose out on pre-sale giveaways, pre-sale events, cover reveal launches. Those big events leading up to publishing really draw some crowds in. Having a cover reveal and having a beautiful cover will encourage people to share, which means more people are getting their eyes on your project. If you don't start your author platform until after you publish, then you lose out on that. You can't do a huge pre-sale giveaway and have all these people who are lining up to get a chance at maybe winning your book if you don't have a platform to actually host the giveaway on. You can't do a cover reveal. You can't have a street team. You're also losing out on a lot of free marketing. I shouldn't say free. You're losing out on a lot of marketing. There are definitely free ways to go about starting your author platform, and there are paid ways. And I think at the beginning, it's always best to start free and to really learn what you're doing, and then to move over until you spend just the right amount of money that you're comfortable with, a good amount of money in areas where you're actually seeing return. So if somebody's telling you, you have to do it like this, you have to spend money on this, you have to sign up for this course, download this thing, they're lying to you. Just being entirely honest. There is no have to in publishing. Everybody's author platform and everybody's publishing path is going to be slightly different depending on who you are as a writer, how fast and when you want to publish, what your publishing process is going to be, and which platforms you choose. And the platforms you choose should be mainly focused on how much work you want to put in and where your audience is. And there should be a balance between the two. So we already talked a lot about the when. Now we're going to be talking about the how, because there's a little bit of a juggling act when it comes to how. Now, if you're just getting started out, you're writing very casually, you're not sure if you want to publish, then I definitely recommend starting with something like social media. Something that is free. I know Instagram is a great place to grow quickly. I know TikTok is something that is rising fast, especially if you're writing in the YA genre or anything for younger kids. That's where your audience is. But you also have to make decisions based on how much work you want to put in. So TikTok is a very popular platform and there are a lot of young people on it, but it will involve doing a lot of filming, editing, and uploading. So if that's not work that you want to put in, then that's not a good author platform to choose, because you can't choose something that's going to cause burnout. If you really like just sharing a picture with a short paragraph of sort of what's going on and where you're moving and when you're planning on releasing your book, then Instagram might be a good option. If you are really dedicated to having an educational platform where you're sharing important information with writers and readers and long form text, then you might want to run a blog. You have to find a balance between where your audience is and the amount of work that you put in. But I will say, it is a little bit of work. There's almost no author platform that is going to require no work from you unless you just set up a website and just let it sit there. But in my experience, even though a lot of professionals at school will say, you need a website, that's the first thing you need, you can't be successful without a website. In this day and age, the internet is a very competitive place, and if you just create a website, then it just sits there and a couple people might stumble upon it. But if you don't have any way to drive traffic to your website, then no one's going to see it. If you don't have a social media promoting what you're doing and also mentioning your website, then how will they know that your website exists? Also, I will say the one thing about websites is there are free versions and there are paid versions. The free versions come with a lot of catches. Like, I use Wix for my website. I really love it. It'll be linked down in the description below so you can check it out and see if that's something you might be interested in. But the free version, they put ads on your web pages, and they also include like the word Wix in the domain name. So it's not your domain, it's not your website, it's like Wix's domain that they're letting you use. Whereas if you pay, and it does cost a decent bit of money, you get your own URL, you get to choose if there's ads on it, you have full control over all of the tools that are going on your website. And I will say in the competitive area of the internet, it is a lot less professional looking to have a website that says wix.soandso.com than it is to have a website that's just www.boundbywords.com. It looks way more professional that way. So if you're not ready to put the money out or even do all of the work it takes to organize a website, then maybe that's not the first place to start for you, and that's perfectly okay. With the how, there are some important things to know. The one is that you're going to learn a lot through trial and error. You're going to pick platforms that you like. You're going to learn the strategies behind growing and developing and getting eyes on your projects. You're also going to learn what kind of posts do well and what kind of posts don't. And that's going to be different for every person. It's not like I'm writing YA fantasy, so I have to do these kinds of posts. Two people who are writing YA fantasy and have very similar tropes, maybe they're both books that have elves and like dark humor and lots of death, they can have two totally different platforms that work for them. It depends on your audience and the people who you catch the eye. I hate to say that there's a little bit of luck involved, but there is. And also, people just have their own aesthetics. If you're here on YouTube, you know that there are certain creators that we follow because we like to look at what they're doing. It's all about entertainment. If you don't like the bright red wall, then you're probably not going to enjoy a lot of my videos because a lot of the stuff in my office is red. Everyone has their own aesthetic, so it's important to find yours, experiment with it, and also sort of put your feelers out and see how people are reacting to different posts that you have on any platform that you choose. Another thing to note is that most authors have more than one platform, whether you're an author or writer. Most author platforms consist of more than one thing. Sometimes it's for marketing reasons and for sales. Sometimes it's just to get more eyes on your manuscript, which is secondhand for marketing reasons and for sales. There are definitely people who have, like Sarah Sutton, she has a YouTube channel, she has an Instagram account, and she has a website. She has 3 things that like I know of that I'm listing. I think she has a Patreon too, so that's 4. You would have to go bother her for her whole list. But she is an indie author with successful sales, and she has 4 things that I just listed, possibly more streams of income and parts to her author platform. I will say that almost everybody, myself included, would recommend starting with one. Start with one platform, choose sort of what you want it to look like, how you want it to go, and then as you get more comfortable in that, introduce a second platform. So if you really want to have a website, maybe that could be your second platform or your third platform whenever you start to experience growth and you start to really understand how you want to run your author platform. I don't think that there's any author who actually makes money from their writing and puts in the work that has just one platform. Traditionally, before social media was a really big thing, a website was really all you needed, and then some people would have an email newsletter, but that still was 2. Having one author platform, you would have to be really, really lucky to catch a lot of people's eye and to make a lot of sales. Some people would even consider a Goodreads account to be part of your author platform because it shows all of your books in one place. It makes it easy for people who are interested in one book to find other books. So even if you have an Instagram account where you do all of your marketing marketing and sharing all of your information. And then you just also have a Goodreads account with all of your books lined up. That's still like 2 pieces of the platform. So there's a little bit of juggling that goes on, and you really have to be ready for that whenever you start your author platform, but you do not have to do it all at once. Introduce things as you get more comfortable, and I would even recommend introducing things slowly. Like, I'm introducing a blog on my website, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of stuff to stay on top of, so I'm like writing blog posts ahead of time, and whenever I get enough to really fill the page, I'm gonna like decorate the page, and then I'm gonna continue to write blog posts before I make it public until I have enough to like have a little bit of a backstock, so that if I get busy, I can have a little bit of free time to myself. It's important to find a balance. Whenever you start any platform, no matter what it is, and no matter how much work is involved in posting or sharing or running that platform, it's gonna feel like work at first. You should start a platform until it feels less like work and feels more like you're just keeping something running instead of getting something started, and then think about what other platforms you'd like to introduce. There are a lot of platforms, especially whenever you start to get bigger, for selling merchandise for your book. I think that's great, but I also think, both from experience and professional advice, that if you start those too early, it does nothing but really hurt you. It puts a lot on you with little return. So there are things like Redbubble where you can design t-shirts for your book and for your platform with like sayings or quotes or like just your logo. But if you share that when you only have 100 followers or 100 subscribers, then almost no one is going to be interested. If you wait until you have 1,000 subscribers, then you're going to have a couple people who are interested. You have 5,000 subscribers and you just drop merchandise, you're going to have a decent amount of sales. So you have to balance the work with a return on investment as well, which is really business-minded, but if you're starting an author platform, you should be a little bit business-minded. And the only reason I even bring that up, because that's sort of an advanced author's topic, is because you need to know at the beginning that that is an advanced author platform move. You need to know in the beginning what things you should be doing and what things you shouldn't be doing, and there are a lot of resources suggesting where and how to start. There are a lot of resources suggesting like milestones where you might want to incorporate this or might want to incorporate that. I highly recommend watching other videos, looking up other vlogs, doing a lot more research, because everyone's done it a little bit differently. Maybe you can find a writer that you really admire who has a really strong platform and see how they started. Look up their history and see, okay, well, when did they start doing this and how did they start doing that? And you can use it as inspiration and tweak it to fit your own situation. So lastly but not least, before we end this video, I want to go over a couple platforms that I think are really good if you're starting your author platform. And I know I've already talked about Instagram a few times in this video. I think it is a great platform to start. It is free. It is low risk for your followers because they can hit like follow with one button and they can unfollow with one button. More people are likely to follow you because they know they can just unfollow if they decide they don't like what they see. I definitely recommend Instagram to a lot of people. It's just easy. There are websites like Canva for creating images that will help you run your Instagram. You can also just take a picture of your desk and share what you're doing. It doesn't have to be stressful. You can also do reels and videos. You can choose. It's a platform that has a lot going on right now. There are also a lot of people on it. There are other platforms if you're willing to put forth a little bit more work, like YouTube. If you want to create, it's a great way to get eyes on your project. That is a lot more work, so you have to be prepared for that, but it is a great way to join the writing community. You will find friends who are writers, you will find friends who run channels, you will find things that might help you move forward in your author platform, but you do have to be ready to put forth that work. I have heard recently a lot of people are streaming on Twitch, their live write-ins, which I think is kind of funny because I just never heard of that for the longest time. Like, Twitch was always for game streaming, but I know a few creators now who stream write-ins on Twitch, so that might even be a platform to look into. TikTok is really big. It does require shooting videos, so your face would have to be in it. I guess it wouldn't have to be in it, but more than likely your face would be in videos if people are interested, and you might have to share a little bit more often. But there are a lot of younger people on that platform, so if your audience is moms in their 40s, then TikTok's probably not the best bet for you. But if you're writing YA like I am, then that's like a really good platform to consider. Other big platforms are websites. I think websites, like I said, they're like a good secondary platform or even like a third platform after you get established to have, because people will click on your Instagram or your YouTube, and then they'll be curious, and then they'll go to your website. But another way to drive traffic to your website without having like a social media attached is by attaching a blog and by managing your blog with like SEO context. That's another thing I want to throw out there. If you do a website or a blog or anything that involves web pages, do research on SEO, and that stands for search engine optimization. You have to know that you have to put keywords on your web pages or they won't pop up in Google search. You have to know what kind of information to share, how to write it, how to tag it. You have to know the basics if you want to be successful doing that alone. Hopefully you aren't doing that alone. There's no right or wrong time to start doing paid subscriptions or merchandise, especially as an author. It's a great supplementary income, but just know starting it too soon will hurt you. Great things to give away as author merchandise are sneak peeks of your book, previews, extra chapters. You can write parts of the story from another character's point of view. Finally, now that we've sort of listed some platforms, I think it's really important to distinguish between, are you going to create a platform based on writing, or are you going to create a platform based on the readers? Because if you create a platform based on writing, which I would almost recommend, especially at the beginning if you're sort of testing the waters with writing, you're going to attract writers. And writers might be interested in buying your book, but they are more interested in community and learning and experiencing things together and supporting each other as writers. If you want to attract readers, which most writers who are writing for publishing do, you have to post content that readers are interested in. Readers might not be interested in how you're doing with your writing and are you hitting your goals and how you planned out your next book, but readers are going to be interested in what book is your book similar to? What are books that you've read that you've liked? What kind of things do you really enjoy reading? What kind of things do you hate reading? There are two broad approaches to go, and under those umbrellas, under those like reading and writing umbrellas, there are a lot of other things that you can post and things that you can share. Now, I post mainly writing content and I connect with writers because I'm doing it mostly for the community. I'm doing it because I like you guys and I really like writing and learning and experiencing. Also, as an editor, my main goal with my entire platform is to help as many authors as I can publish the best version of their books. That being said, I'm also a writer and I also will publish in the future, but my platform is really surrounded around writers and writers' growth. Now, there are a lot of people who only want a reader platform because they might want writing friends and they might meet people who write and they might attend live streams and hang out, but they primarily want to cater to the people who are going to be buying their book. And that is perfectly valid too, because that is a good way to get higher sales. I definitely don't have any way to compare sales numbers between channels who focus on writing and channels who focus on reading, so I can't really tell you which one is best. It's what you want to do with your platform and how you want your platform to grow. But with that, if you've gotten any value from this video, please hit the subscribe button. I post writing related content twice a week, and also comment down below what your author platform is, what you want it to be, what your starting steps are. I would love to know. Have a great rest of your day, guys. I will see you next time.